Over the last 2 weeks, markets have been under extreme selling pressure and heightened volatility. We have seen 2 to 3% swings across the NASDAQ 100, the Dow, and the S&P 500, while oil prices have now surged back above $100 per barrel. Inflation concerns are once again coming into focus, and the Federal Reserve is now considering keeping interest rates higher for longer. We even have JP Morgan analysts suggesting that investors should hold back on dollar cost averaging, as they're expecting up to a 10% correction in the S&P 500 due to the scale of tensions unfolding in the Middle East. But the real question is, how do all of these forces connect? What is the hidden domino effect that is happening beneath the surface? Which sectors are positioned to perform better? Which ones may come under pressure? And at the core of it all, what happens to interest rates, treasury yields, and inflation expectations? In this video, I'm going to break down everything that's happening in the markets right now and connect the pieces so that investors can clearly understand how to navigate this environment and which ETFs may be better positioned to outperform. Understanding the mechanics of the market is crucial right now, so definitely stick around until the end. Now, before we continue, I have to mention that I am not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. This video is for educational purposes only and reflects my own research. Most importantly, past performance does not guarantee future results, and investing involves significant risk and potential loss of capital, so always consult a financial professional. Now, we all know about the conflict in the Middle East and what it's doing to oil prices. Iran controls a large portion of the Strait of Hormuz, and as a result of this conflict, they have essentially shut off nearly all movement of oil through this 20-mile waterway. And this has severely disrupted the global energy market because demand now heavily outweighs supply. Now, yes, the IEA recently announced plans to release roughly 400 million barrels, but that number is misleading. What truly matters is flow rate and production capacity. Right now, the maximum realistic output is around 2 million barrels per day, and that is only about 10% of what normally passes through the Strait of Hormuz. At that pace, replacing 400 million barrels could take close to 200 days, and investors understand this, which is why oil prices continue climbing. Now, the first place investors typically look when oil prices rise is the energy sector, companies like Chevron and ExxonMobil, or ETFs like XLE. Personally, I find RSPG to be a stronger ETF because it's equally weighted and has historically produced stronger total returns, but more on that later. The reason energy stocks benefit is very simple. Oil company profits follow a basic formula: the price of oil minus the cost of production multiplied by volume. The cost to produce a barrel of oil tends to remain relatively stable, and global production volumes usually only fluctuate by about 1 to 3%. The variable that moves dramatically is the price of oil itself. Oil can move 10, 20, or even 100%, from $60 per barrel to $120 per barrel. And when that happens, the profitability of energy companies increases rapidly. But oil doesn't just impact energy stocks, it also has a direct relationship with inflation. If you overlay oil prices and the inflation rate on a chart, you will notice a clear positive correlation. When oil rises, inflation tends to rise as well, and when oil falls, inflation declines. The reason is simple. Oil is embedded throughout the entire economy. When energy becomes more expensive, transportation costs rise for ships, trucks, and airplanes, and those costs ripple through supply chains and eventually show up in the prices consumers pay for goods. Now, the latest inflation report for February came in at 2.4%, but that number may move higher if oil prices remain above $100 through March. The impact of rising oil prices hasn't fully shown up in inflation data just yet. So next month's CPI report could start reflecting these higher energy costs, and that creates a real risk of a negative market reaction. Now, this is where interest rates come in. Right now, the 10-year Treasury yield has surged from a low of 3.9% to above 4.2%. But why? You see, normally when inflation rises, the Federal Reserve raises interest rates to combat it. But when unemployment rises, the Fed typically cuts rates to stimulate growth. The problem today is that oil-driven inflation pressures are rising again, and that makes it harder for the Federal Reserve to cut rates. So now the market expects interest rates to stay higher for longer. That expectation is exactly why the 10-year yield is rising. Remember, this represents the market's expectation of interest rates in the long term. At the same time, the 2-year Treasury yield is rising even faster, reflecting expectations that short-term interest rates may remain elevated. So the chain reaction becomes very clear. The conflict pushes oil prices higher, higher oil prices raise inflation expectations, and those rising inflation expectations push both the 10-year and 2-year Treasury yields higher. Now, the 10-year Treasury yield plays an enormous role in the market. It influences mortgage rates, stock valuations, sector leadership, recession probabilities, small cap survival, corporate profitability, and bond returns. So when the 10-year moves, it sends ripple effects throughout the entire financial system. And to understand how sectors react, we need to understand the relationship between Treasury yields and stock prices. Now, on another note, I wanted to give you guys a quick heads up that investing.com, which is a platform that I use for research quite literally on a daily basis, is going to have a flash sale from the 16th to the 19th of March. So starting this Monday, and it's going to be 55% off. And if you use my link down below, you will get an additional 15% off on top of that. So make sure you grab the deal before it ends. Think of the 10-year Treasury yield as the competition for the stock market. It is often called the risk-free rate because it is the guaranteed return you get for lending your money to the US government. When that guaranteed return is low, for example 1%, then investors are happy to put their money into stocks to get a better result. But when the 10-year yield climbs and jumps to 4.2%, the competition is suddenly much tougher. If stocks don't look like they will pay significantly more than that guaranteed 4.2%, investors will sell their stocks and buy the safer government bonds instead. This creates immediate selling pressure on the stock market. Now, this competition is measured through a valuation tool called discounted free cash flow, DCF. Hedge fund managers use this formula to figure out what a company is worth today based on how much cash it will make in the future. Now, I know this sounds complicated, but the most important thing to remember is this. In this equation, they use a variable called R, the discount rate, which is directly tied to that 10-year Treasury yield. So when the Treasury yield goes up, the value of this equation drops, so the value of those future earnings goes down. But when the Treasury yield goes down, the value of those future earnings goes up. So in simple terms, the higher interest rates climb, the less today's investors are willing to pay for a company's future profits. This is why when yields spike, stock prices, especially for fast-growing tech companies, usually drop. Companies with high growth expectations, like technology and AI companies, are most affected because their valuations rely heavily on profits far into the future. That is why we're seeing a lot of volatility within the tech sector. Now, small cap companies are also very vulnerable because they rely heavily on borrowing to finance growth. When interest rate expectations rise, borrowing costs increase, margins shrink, and expansion becomes more difficult. And we can see that ETFs like IWM have suffered the heaviest selling pressure so far. As a result, small caps and high growth technology companies are extremely sensitive in today's market. Now, there's something called the yield spread. And this is simply the difference in interest rate between the 10-year Treasury yield and the 2-year Treasury yield. Right now, short-term inflation expectations are rising faster than long-term expectations due to oil prices. As a result, the 2-year yield is rising faster than the 10-year yield, causing the spread between them to shrink. And that shrinking spread matters for one specific sector: financials. Banks borrow money at short-term rates and lend it at long-term rates. When long-term rates are significantly higher than short-term rates, banks earn a large net interest margin. But when the spread compresses, those margins shrink, directly hurting bank profitability. And when you look at the Financial Select Sector ETF, you can see that the financial sector has underperformed the broader market largely because of this compression. Now, the next piece of the puzzle is bonds. Bonds move inversely to yields, meaning when yields rise, bond prices fall. The most sensitive bonds are long-duration bonds, such as those in ETFs like TLT. These bonds are currently under pressure as yields rise due to higher inflation expectations. So, although bonds are often seen as an asset investors flock to during periods of heightened volatility, you still have to be mindful of duration. Short to medium-term bonds suffer much less fluctuations and can serve as a much stronger hedge in this environment. Now, when you connect all of these pieces together, the domino effect becomes clear. Rising oil prices increase inflation expectations. Inflation pushes Treasury yields higher. Higher yields pressure technology and small cap valuations while compressing the yield spread and hurting financial institutions. Now, another sector under pressure is materials. Materials companies rely heavily on energy for extraction and transportation, and they depend on financing for capital-intensive operations like mining and resources development. Rising oil prices and higher borrowing costs create pressure from both directions. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, The energy market, inflation expectations, treasury yields, sector performance, and stock valuations are all deeply interconnected. And understanding these relationships is critical for investors navigating today's environment. That is why energy stocks and energy-heavy ETFs are currently being viewed as hedges, while shorter duration bonds are often seen as the risk-off hedge. Personally, I also like combining these with active management and high income strategies to boost return potential. So in my next video, I'm going to walk you through a powerful 3 ETF combination that incorporates strong hedging characteristics along with hedged equity exposure and high income potential. So definitely stay tuned for that one. And that is all for this one. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.